you can see my screen.
We can see, but it's little blurry. Is it only for me, or are they also experiencing it the same?
Yeah, it's blurred.
Maybe your network connection, Jackie.
My networking, let me change.
It's okay when it is in view mode.
No, it was blurry there as well in slide mode as well. Let's see.
Hello,
Yeah,
is it good?
no, it's still
More
blurry.
blurry.
I don't know why it's blurry. Okay,
Rahul, it's good for you.
No,
No, no.
no.
let me refresh it.
Yes.
What about now?
No, you're complete.
Same. No.
Let me share
Not
my
clear.
screen and
Ah,
see.
now it is clear. Now it is
Now
clear.
it's little clear.
Now
Okay.
it is clear. Yes.
But Jackie, once more, go to yeah. Now it is very clear.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
Yes,
come.
yes, yes. Now it's properly loaded.
okay. Okay, cool. So first of all, like thanks to everyone for joining MuleSoft Meetup. And in this particular series of meetup, we will try to provide a MuleSoft training. If you want to do the hands-on with me, you can definitely do it. And if you want to do it later by looking at the recording, you can do that also. So we are like Mumbai MuleSoft Meetup group, and in the collaboration with Guwahati MuleSoft Meetup group, we are conducting this training on the MuleSoft for the Salesforce developer or beginners or who want to learn the MuleSoft, and even any experienced person want to learn MuleSoft, they can definitely use this training basically. Before I get into the actual content, I will just start with the safe harbor statement. Both the speaker and the organizer are our host are organizing this meetup in the individual capacity. We are not representing any organization here. The presentation is strictly for learning purpose, and we are not holding any responsibility whether the same solution work for your business requirement. The presentation is not meant for any promotional activities. It is just for the learning purpose. We will upload the recording to the event page within 24 hours. You can submit the question at any time. You can enable your mic and you can simply ask the question, because we have enabled the presenter mode for each and every person. Try to make the session more interactive. We would love to hear from you. Like after the end of the session, you can just provide the feedback. This help us to improve in the future MuleSoft meetups. So the organizer and speaker for this meetup is myself, Jitendra Bafna, and I'm a senior solution architect, okay, working at EPAM. And the moderators is Jitendra and Abhishek Batwal. Like Abhishek is a technical architect at Neurofless. Abhishek, would you want to introduce or just I can skip?
Yeah, we can skip. Jackie, that's fine.
Okay, so what we will going to cover in this particular training. So we have almost 11 modules. So in module 1, we will just start with basic concept of integration. What is integration? What is REST API? What is point-to-point integration? Right? We will go through the overview of Anypoint Studio, Anypoint Platform. Right? And module 2, we will see how we can design the API, and we will try to implement the API in the Anypoint Studio. And we'll try to like connect to the Salesforce. We'll try to retrieve the data from the Salesforce in the module 2. In module 3, we will see how we can deploy, we implement the API and deploy to the Cloud Hub. So we will talk about more on that deployment strategies, how we can, what are the options for deploying the application to the Cloud Hub or to the on-premises or to the Kubernetes. We're going to talk. In module 4, we will going to cover some of the important concept. I will call those as a critical concept, that is known as a data weave, error handling, and there is a core components like some routers are there, right? Choice router, scatter gather, and there are many more things. Module 5, which is one of the complex module, I will say, we will going to cover batch process. I will going to explain each and every concept, how you can calculate the block size, like what is how you can define the max concurrencies, when you are doing the batch processing. We will talk about for each, parallel for each. In module 6, we will talk about HTTP connector, HTTP listener, requester, and payload handling. Also, we can see like how we can enable the OAuth in the HTTP requester. So we will talk about the OAuth module. In module 7, we will talk about a database connector. We are going to for performing CRUD operations. So CRUD like create, read, update, and delete, right? And also we will see how we can call the store procedure. For this, we will going to use a MySQL database. Module 8, we will see a Salesforce connector for the seamless CRM integration. We're going to talk about various Salesforce connectors. So we have a Salesforce bulk connector, we have a Salesforce connector, like, we have a Salesforce composite connector. We're going to talk about all those connectors within the module 8. And I will going to provide the options when to use which connectors. In module 9, we will talk about all the hosting options. Module 10, we will going to talk about how we can, once we deploy the API, how we can manage the complete API lifecycle, how we can secure the API, what are the different API policies we can apply to ensure that whenever the request is coming, that is get authorized and the authenticated. Then we will do some kind of small project in the module 11. So that will cover most of the thing, like, so whatever we learn in the module 10, we're going to cover everything into the module 11, right? So any feedback on this before I get into? Okay.
Jackie, one question. Since we are connecting to Salesforce and
Mm.
database, do we require this Salesforce application and
Yeah,
to
I will
have the
yeah.
login access and everything?
Yes, I will come on that part. Definitely, we will need it, those things basically. Okay. So I will come on that part, Saurabh.
Okay, yeah, sure. Thank you.
Okay, where is my presentation? Okay, so what is agenda for today? We will talk about what is integration, what is point-to-point integration, what are APIs, what are REST APIs, what is MuleSoft. We will have an overview of Anypoint Platform and Anypoint Studio. So we will going to create a account on the Anypoint Platform, which is 30 days trial. Then we will write a RAML. So we will going to start writing a REST API modeling language. Okay. So let's start with point-to-point integration. Anybody like aware what is a point-to-point integration? Okay. So point-to-point integration means a direct connection between two systems. So when two systems want to communicate with each other, they are directly connecting with each other basically, right? So that is known as a point-to-point integration. So generally you write a point-to-point integration using some kind of custom code. And the custom code can be written in Java, C Sharp, many other languages, right? Only the thing is that there is a direct connection, nothing in between the two systems. So they are directly connecting to each other. So the point-to-point integration is a method of connecting two system application services directly with each other without using any middleware, any APIs, any integration platform, or any central hub. So there is a direct connection between both, right? So if system A want to communicate with system B, right? So you are directly establishing a connection between A to B. Now, if you added the system C, right, and you need now connection from system A to system C, from system B to system C, right? So that is how a point-to-point integration looks like. As we added more and more system, right, your network keep on growing, your connections keeps on growing very quickly. Imagine like if you have 100 system, right, then how many integration you needed, right? So I will going to talk, there is a formula, right? I will going to talk about that particular formula, like how many for 100 systems, how many integration we may need if they are connecting to each other. Okay. So the point-to-point integration is always it's bit difficult to manage basically, because we don't have a reusability, and we are configuring a connection string to connect the same system within the multiple systems basically, right? So you are maintaining, if you want to connect to the Salesforce, one of the system A want to connect to the Salesforce, so there will be connection string in the system A. If system B want to connect to the Salesforce, right, so system B cannot go via system A. System B also want to connect to the Salesforce, right? So there will be connection from system B to the Salesforce, and we have to maintain a connection string in the system B also, right? If in future, if system C is coming and some other system is coming called database, system C will be connect to the database, and we have to maintain the connection string in the system C. In future, system B also want to connect to the system C, right? So there will be direct linkage between system B and the database. So we have to again maintain a database connection string in the system B. So you can see you are maintaining connection string at a multiple places to connect the same systems, right? So that is what a point-to-point integration. So let's consider this is one of the example. So I have a two systems. So for two system, I just need a one connection from A to B. If example three system, then I need a three connections. If four system, I need a six connection. The formula is n into n minus one divided by two. So for example, my n is four, right? So my n is four. So in this case, the n four is like n into n minus one. So it will be 12. So 12 minus 1, something around 10 to 11 connections are needed, right? So that is one of the formula. Here we have a like point-to-point integration. Like if you see, like we have a less number of system, the architecture looks good, right? As number of connection or number of system got increases, the architecture become more and more complex. For example, in the step 3, it become a very complex spaghetti architecture, right? If you see, it's a very complex network basically, right? And it's become at some point of time, it's become very difficult to manage such kind of integration, right? Because all integration has been done via writing some kind of custom code. You are maintaining some kind of custom code for doing such kind of integration basically, and it end up in creating spaghetti architecture, right? Yeah, advantage, like if you have a few systems, right, one or two or three system needs to connect it, it is good to have a point-to-point integration because it become a cheaper, right? For small network, two or three system, you can definitely go with a point-to-point integration. One of the advantage of this particular architecture, it have a direct communication between system, right? So you don't have to go through any middleware, right? So there will be reducing the latency. One system can directly send the data to another system. Initial cost is low, right? Because you don't have to buy, or you don't have to buy any middleware or any platform basically, right? So you can simply have a custom code. But later on, if you see, if this kind of architecture become, right, so it become a costly, and it become difficult to manage, right? Disadvantage, scalability issue. It's become very difficult to scale such system, right? For n system, you may need n into n minus 1 slash 2 connection. So this is the formula, right? So maintenance burden. I already talked. If number of system are growing, it's difficult to manage the number of connections, right? It's difficult to manage the integration between those systems, right? Spaghetti architecture with many system, as I mentioned, the the overall network or the overall system architecture become a very complex, a very messy, and it become hard to manage. Limited flexibility. For example, if somebody asks to change the connection string, right? So I have a three system that are connecting to the Salesforce basically, and I want to change the connection string because Salesforce have changed the password or maybe security token, right? So I have to update in all those three systems. In case if I want to introduce some kind of business logic in those systems, right? It become difficult to introduce those kind of business logic, and you may have to write up those business logic in all the three systems, right? So here we are not enabling the reusability, right? We are keep on writing duplication of the code. We are maintaining the duplication of connection string. So there are a lot of disadvantage or limitation using the point-to-point integration. Any question? Is it clear?
Yeah, we have one question as any real example for P2P.
Yeah, it's a real example. Like basically, earlier we don't have a middleware, right? So whenever there is a no middleware, whenever two systems want to communicate with each other, so what we are doing, we are writing some kind of Java code, C# code, or any other languages code to connect those systems, to exchange the data between those systems, to synchronize the data between those systems, right? This is one of the example. But nowadays, like we have an introduction of enterprise service bus, we have APIs, right? We have a iPaaS, right? With the introduction of those tools, right, we are avoiding writing point-to-point integration basically, right? We are writing some kind of architecture, we are writing some kind of integration, some APIs which can be reused basically, Shubham. Okay. The common use case, like if you have a small business with few systems, like you can just you can go with with P2P. or point-to-point integration, one of data exchange. If you just want, in some of the organizations, what happens when they are doing some kind of migration and they want to move data from one system to another system, right? Like in such cases, you can use this particular P2P integration, just migrating data. It is one-time activity, right? So it's not multiple time like you, or it's not like you are updating the delta records every day or every 20 minutes or every 30 minutes. It's not like that. Whenever there's a simple integration, right? So like you don't have your organization doesn't have like lot of systems, just two or three systems, right? Or two systems where they want integration, one or two integration. In those cases, you can go with this kind of integration, point-to-point integration. Now talk about integration. What is integration basically? Anybody heard about the term integration? Anyone who want to add? We talk about the point-to-point integration.
Yes.
Yeah,
Rahul this side.
yeah, Rahul.
Okay. Now integration is the main thing in the all the organization. Without integration, we can't connect with omni-channel systems. So to get the customer on board and customer give the uh, better services to the customer, this integration is required so that customer can connect with company services with any channel of any channel, and they will get the sufficient detailed solutions, and they can able to easily purchase without any manual intervention. Like earlier, we need to fill up the form for to open any account in the bank or insurance company or anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
In the reservation part also. So now this thing is because of the integration. This thing is very easily done, and we don't need to do any manual intervention. So that is the integration thing.
Right, right, correct. Okay. Thanks, Rahul, for your inputs. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
So integration means you are connecting a system, application, or software so they can work together, right? And they can sync the data or they can share the data across the system, basically, right? So you have some middleware, right? So middleware will take care of managing all the connections and everything, right? And then if system A want to talk with system B, they can go via a middleware, basically, right? So they can communicate via middleware, right? So in this case, like everything, like if you have a multiple systems, they want to communicate with each other, so they will going to they can connect via a middleware. In future, if some system, like we have a A, B, C, D, right? The system F or E is coming, right? We just attach the system F or E here, and they can if system F want to communicate with the system A, so they can communicate via middleware. In this way, we are removing a point-to-point integration. We are not maintaining a duplication of connection string, right? So we are just avoiding it, basically, right? So instead of each system working in isolation, create a unified flow of the information, right? So here middleware is maintaining everything for you. It maintaining data transformation, it is maintaining all the connection string, it is maintaining all the routings, right? It is maintaining all the business rules, logic, everything will be available in the business. Just system A will tell middleware to which system they want to connect, which operations they need to perform, right? So that is how you are removing a point-to-point integration. Also, if you see, a middleware is providing lot of connectors, lot of adapters to connect to the other systems, right? So that is one of the advantage of middleware. You don't have to write a connection, using a custom code or anything. You have available adapters and connector. You can leverage those to connect any systems. Okay. So I already talked about this point-to-point integration. So basically, as I mentioned, it works fine with two, three systems. But whenever the systems number of system grows, and whenever we want to integrate those number of system with each other, right, it will end up in creating spaghetti mess, basically, and which become hard to maintain. It is also become costly to scale, and it is always error prone, right? And apart from that, if you want to release any new feature, the time to market will also get increased, right? It is, and finally it is end up in creating spaghetti mesh or monolithic architecture. Okay. So we have something called, initially we are using hub and scope, where like you publish everything to the hub, right? And the system will listen to the hub, those hub, and the system will like read the data from the hub, right? If system E want to publish the data to the system D, so system A just publish the data to the hub, right? And system D can read it from there. So system A is nothing, it's a hub. System B is hub. System C is hub, basically, right? This is much cleaner, but still like, still we have a need of hub, spoken hub architecture here, right? So we will talk about like how we can avoid this kind of architecture also. Okay, we have a event driven architecture also. It is also fine, like if you want to need some kind of asynchronous architecture or nearly real time asynchronous architecture, right? But it will be not completely synchronous. So you will be have a producer, and the producer will publish the message to the events basically, right? And it will be subscriber by the consumers basically. The subscriber can be anyone, right? So the subscriber doesn't have a information of the producer, and producer doesn't have a information of the subscriber, right? So publisher will continue to publish the message to the event broker, or any subscriber want to read the message, they can read it from here basically. So one of the example, you can say e-commerce app publish an event order place basically, right? So once you order place, so what does this mean? Once the order is placed, we have to reduce the inventory, we have to reduce the stock, we have to create a shipment, we have to send a confirmation email. So the one message will be published to the event broker, and these three system, inventory system, shipping system, and email system, will read this particular message and do their job. So one will reduce the stock, one will create a shipment, one will create a send confirmation email basically, right? It is loosely coupled, as I mentioned. Producer doesn't have a information of consumer, and consumer doesn't have a information of producer, and you can attach more and more subscriber basically. And once multiple subscriber can subscribe to the same message, right? It is scalable, so you can definitely add more and more subscriber, right? And it is nearly real time. Like I will not say it's completely real time. It's a flexible. Like you can add more subscriber in without touching a publisher, and even you can add more publisher, right? So publisher, like we can add 1, 2, 3, 4 publisher, multiple publishers also. Okay, now comes to REST API. This is one of the thing we will going to talk in this particular training basically. So REST API is nothing. It's one of the architecture style. So it's enable you to communicate. Enable the two or more application to communicate and share data with each other over the internet using REST. So REST is nothing, representational state transfer, right? So it have a few HTTP methods: get, post, put, and delete. And usually we exchange the data in the JSON format. It is recommended. It doesn't mean like you cannot exchange the data in XML format, but XML is JSON is more lightweight as compared to the XML. So generally, when you say REST, it is mostly a JSON, but REST is also allowing you to exchange the data in the XML format also. You are doing using the web services basically, right? You can think of the REST API like a waiter in the restaurant. So waiter is nothing, he's a API basically. He's taking order from the client, right? What he want. In same way, a system, if system wants some data, he will just order to the API. I want employee data, right? The waiter take your request to the kitchen. So kitchen is nothing, it's kind of a system. So now the API will take the request to the database, and it will try to retrieve the data, and the kitchen prepare the food, and like that, like no, the database will return the data to the API, and that API will send the response or data back to the client. In same way, the kitchen prepared the food and waiter brings it back to you. Like this is one of the example basically, right? So it's a universal language. It is widely adopted. So REST API have a standards which is adopted, which is universally adopted. So there are some kind of standards, some kind of guidelines, some kind of best practice we have to follow when we are creating the REST APIs. Reusable. Once you build, you can use the same API which can serve multiple apps. It can serve mobile application, it can serve web application, it can serve any other applications also. Nowadays, like it can serve the large language models also, like so LLMs and all this thing. Scalable, you can independently scale the REST API very easily, right? So each API or each REST API can be scaled independently. Loosely coupled, say like system don't need to know each other's, right? So what main purpose of REST API? It unlock the system of records basically. That is the main purpose basically, right, of the REST API. Okay, it is stateless. So every request from client to server must contain all the information needed, right? Server doesn't remember the previous request. So that is known as a stateless. So whatever like information required by server, right? Client needs to send those information like what URI params required, what are the query params needed, what are the headers needed, right? Those kind of information. And server doesn't remember the previous request basically. That's why it is known as a stateless. Client server separation. So client and the server are independent of each other basically. Uniform interface. So as I mentioned, it is using some standard method get, post, put, and delete to make the API easy to use basically. Resource based. Everything is treated as a resource identified by the unique URL basically. Slash user slash 101. What does this mean? So retrieve the user having ID 101, right? That is what cacheable response can be cached to improve the performance. So these are the key principle of the REST API. Okay, these are the HTTP methods. So get means whenever you want to retrieve any data, right? So or whenever we want to retrieve a resources, that is we use the get methods. Get slash users. This means retrieve the list of the users. If I put get slash user slash 101, I will say retrieve a single user with the ID 101. Post, and get doesn't have a request body, it will just have a response body which we will get in the response. Post means you want to create a resource, you want to create a users basically, so you simply say post slash users, so create a new users or new resource in the system. Put means replace a data, right? So if data is not available, right, you just create it. If data is available, you just replace it, you just update it. Patch, you can update existing data. So for example, you want to update user designation or user name or user date or something like that, you can use the patch. Delete, if you want to remove the data, if you want to remove the resource, so you can say slash user slash 101, so remove the 101 user from the system. Head, if you want to check sometime before creating the resource, we want to check whether this particular user exists or not, so you can use the head options. So first you check, right, whether user exists or not, right? If user exists, you can update, you can call the patch method. If user don't exist, you can just call the post method. Put is doing same thing, but in some cases there might be some complex logic where put doesn't works, right? You can just check with head, right? Then we have options. So option will just say what are the different methods available for this particular APIs, right? So these are the some HTTP methods we're going to use. Okay. So REST API benefits, it's a universal, any system can use it. You can write the REST API in Java, Python, .NET, and even any systems can consume those REST APIs, right? So it is not, it's not a language agnostic, right? It's not language dependent. So if you are written the API in the MuleSoft, it can be consumed by the application is Java also, it can be consumed by Salesforce. It is fast and lightweight. When you are exchanging a data in the JSON format, right? It is a lightweight and you can exchange over the HTTP, right? Easy integration. So once you expose the endpoint, it can be easily consumed by any application, any consumer, any client. It can handle the million of requests easily because it is stateless, right? It is not saving, the server is not saving any data, right? It is whatever it's coming, right? It is processing it, it's sending the response back. It is not going to store anything on the server. It is stateless, maintainable. It is easy to maintain, like it can be easily maintained, and it can be scale independently. Reusable, as I mentioned, it can be reused across the mobile, web or third party app. Widespread adoption, as see, if you see, most of the organization has adopted a REST API for their digital transformation strategy, right? So I will give one of the example of banking system. So nowadays you may heard about the like open banking or payment system directives tools, right? So these are the some open banking project where most of the bank are exposing their APIs for payment, for retrieving the account informations, right? So even the third party can create their mobile app, right? And they can call this banking APIs for performing the payments and for retrieving the account information for the customers, right? Yeah, definitely there will be need of authentication and authorization from the and the consent from the customer side. But yeah, so but we can easily unlock the data from the systems, right, from the backend system using this particular APIs. And one of the good advantage or using the APIs, so nowadays we have heard about there is something called API gateway, which sit on the top of the API, right? For securing the APIs, you can apply some kind of policies like, IP whitelisting, IP blacklisting, like, we're going to talk about everything, like, in upcoming session. I'm just giving high level idea. I'm just setting up the foundation for the future further trainings. Okay, this is how a client can interact with your backend system. So here client will not make a direct connection with your backend system, but it will go via the REST API. So all the connection strings and everything will be maintained at the REST API, right? So client doesn't have to maintain the connection strings and everything. It can maintain it here basically directly in the REST API. Okay, so role of REST API in digital transformation, like once we expose the API, right, it can be used for like creating mobile app, web app, IoT device, cloud services. Nowadays, LLM also like can call the REST API to perform some kind of task. Basically, agility, like the time to market, right, will be reduced. So you can easily launch a new features, new capability, new changes very easily. Scalability, like in case it can definitely handle the million of requests. If you feel like the API is not performing well, you can easily scale the API, right? Either you can do the horizontal scaling or you can do the vertical scaling. Integration, it can easily integrate with the older system like ERP, CRM systems like Sibbal, so with a model cloud solution, ecosystem expansion. So open the opportunity for third party integration. I will say we have a lot of fintech, right? So they are building the web application and mobile applications for the banking, so multiple bankings, right? So once bank expose those API, right, so those API can be consumed by the various fintechs, right, to provide the customer about their accounting informations and payment informations and everything, right? And this also give an opportunity bank to do the monetization of their APIs. Any question?
Nandu raised his hand. You have any question, Nandu? No. And Srinivas asked about head. I've already replied, but if you want to add anything, Jackie, on that. Head only means that the resource URI exists, a URL exists, or URI exists, but not the actual user information exists.
Yeah, it is kind of template you are defining, right? Till you don't do the implementation in backend, right? So it users, like basically it's kind of to identify what kind of resource you need to unlock from the backend system, right? So that is where mention it can be employees also. If I put slash employees, right? So I want to retrieve or I want to create the employees data basically. Okay.
Yeah, Dinesh raised his hand.
Yeah, hi Jackie. Am I audible? Hello.
Yeah, yeah.
So the thing is, like point to point, you mentioned right. Like most of the customers are moving from MuleSoft to some kind of
Yeah.
Java-based framework, Spring Boot. That is because of very less systems in the organization, or what is it?
Okay. So this I will not answer this question for now. Okay. So this is generally like it's a MuleSoft training, but I will give an answer. But see, if you see the other Spring Boot also, right? It is also
Mhm.
integration platform, Dinesh, right? It is not like it is also it is kind of integration platform only, right? Where it is not a Java. It is definitely create a wrapper on the top of Java, basically, right? So
Mhm.
but it is also an integration platform. It is also allow you to expose the REST APIs and everything basically, right? Yeah, but only thing it doesn't provide a direct connector, Spring Boot. But to do that, we use some kind of integration platform called Apache Camel. So you can use the Spring Boot and Apache Camel together. I have done in the past basically, right? So so you can with a Spring Boot you can call Apache Camel. So Apache Camel have a connectors to connect to the various systems. That's how you do it, Dinesh.
Okay, okay, yeah, got
Yeah,
it.
but I see what I will simply say, like there are a lot of integration platform, right? You will see the changes. One person is moving from here to there, somebody moving from XYZ tool to MuleSoft, somebody is moving from MuleSoft to other. This will going to happen, right? It's all completely depend on the organization strategy, right? What
Yeah.
organization is thinking basically, right? It's all completely. It's not like that. Like MuleSoft is not doing that particular feature. I think MuleSoft does everything for at least. Like I'm working from MuleSoft from 8 to 9 years, so I've seen like it does everything like till now, but there is an organization study. Some organizations say we have to move completely to the open source, right? So there are some lot of organizations taking that strategy. In that case, there might be possibility the people move from MuleSoft to open source, basically, right? But there is the
So,
other way around. Some people are coming from
yeah.
other integration platform to the MuleSoft also, right?
So that
This,
means that Spring Boot is also acting like a kind of middleware, right? ESB
yeah, it is
kind of thing.
middleware only. Spring Boot is a middleware only. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So as I mentioned, if you use the combination of Spring Boot and Apache Camel, it also provides some kind of Joule gateway. I have implemented in past Joule gateways
Mhm.
and everything. It also have some frameworks for data mappings. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
We have one more from Srinivas. Is the integration being planned to be enterprise-wide or project-based?
No, mostly people are using the enterprise. Like if you are using the MuleSoft, it will be definitely enterprise wide. See, project based is a part of enterprise wide, right? So there's an enterprise. So enterprise can have a multiple projects basically that are running basically, right? So you're at the top, you have an enterprise, and within the enterprise there can be multiple initiatives, multiple projects, right? So for there can be CRM integration, there can be ERP integration, there can be a digital transformation. So the project is the sub part of your enterprise. So mostly the integration is used enterprise wide. If you take example of MuleSoft, in MuleSoft basically you have like you use it at an enterprise level. But if it is used by multiple line of business within the organization, you create a multiple business groups basically. Each business group can be mapped to the one of the line of business, right? Yeah, Srinivas.
I guess I didn't clarify the context earlier. So I was trying to respond to the earlier person's question whether Spring
Okay.
Boot versus MuleSoft. So depending upon the type of integration you do,
Yeah.
if it is enterprise wide, if you want to basically make it more low code, no code versus
Correct.
having a lot more code development, then depending upon that, you would basically do. Again, depends upon also the cost plays a factor there too. So depending upon those factors, you would basically switch from one to another.
Correct. Thanks, Srinivas, for your inputs. Okay. Okay, now let's talk about the MuleSoft. What is a MuleSoft? So again, MuleSoft is an integration platform or service. Does anybody knows what is integration platform as a service? Anyone? Okay. Anyone? Any like what is integration platform as a service? Yes, Srinivas, go on.
So I would say platform as a service would basically mean that you would act as a way for you to be able to provide the tools and technology for the integration to be implemented by the customer with ease of use.
Okay.
The
So
service
fight.
which is deployed in the cloud level
Correct.
is kind
Okay.
of.
Like platform as a service. So we have a infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and we have a software as a service, right? So what is a platform as a service? So platform as a service, like the platform will be provided by the vendor, right? And you just run your application. You just take care of data in the application. The backend infrastructures, the high availability, resiliency, fault tolerance, everything will be taken care by the vendor. In case of when we call integration platform as a service, right? What does this mean? So MuleSoft will provide you platform. You deploy the application. You don't have to worry about the high availability, scaling. You don't have to worry about the resiliency and the fault tolerance. Like you don't have to worry about those. You don't have to worry about the underlying infrastructure. You deploy your application. That is the first point. Second point, each and every API running independently. So if you stop one API, it doesn't mean the other API will not work. So they are running on the different instance basically. Each API is running on the different. I can call as a different server or different instances or different container. So if you are changing one API, if you are deploying one API, it will not going to impact the other APIs, right? So that is what high level definition of an integration platform as a service, right? So let me go back to my presentation. So MuleSoft is the platform as a service which allow organization to connect the data, application, devices, and system. Doesn't matter where it is located. It can be located on premises. It can be located in the cloud hub. It is a central hub. It is kind of a middleware. It is kind of integration platform, right? Which allow you to communicate, which enable you to communicate with the other systems very easily, right? So we will talk about like universal connectivity. So you can easily connect any system, database, application device. So if you see, it provide almost more than 300 or 400 plus connector, right? Which you can use to connect modern systems or maybe legacy systems like Siebel. It use one of the approach called API led connectivity approach. So it is a three layered architecture. So we have a three layer of architecture. So system layer, process layer, and experience layer. We're going to implement this particular architecture in our session. So system layer is basically connect to the backend system to unlock the data. So it is nothing like the system layer will have all the connection strings and everything. It will connect to the backend system like databases, Salesforce, SQL, SAP, other CRMs basically, right? Then process layer. The process layer is a which can call one or more system API, which does a orchestration, which have some kind of business logic, which does a complex transformation, right? Then we have an experience API. So basically, the experience API is the channel specific API. So for mobile application, we can have a mobile application system experience API. For web application, we can have a web application experience API. For third party application, we can have a third party application experience API, right? So the experience API always talk to the process API. The process API always talk to the system API. All our business logic, orchestration, right, or complex transformation happen at a process API layer, right? So if you see, we can reuse a process API and the system API basically. Once you create as a system API, right, that can be reused by the process API, right? And then you just expose the experience API. Experience API can be also reused, but sometimes if new channel is coming, you may have to build a new experience API which can connect the process API and process API can get the data from the system API. That is what the architecture is. So let's talk about business problem. Why MuleSoft? So today companies have 100 of application. I have seen like work with a project where organization having 250 to 300 application. One of the banking customer, right? So they have a 200 to up to 300 systems, right? There are a lot of systems. We have a CRMs, we have a ERP, we have a payment gateway, HR system, finance system, database, mobile application, IoT devices. These systems are often isolated, silos, and they don't easily share the data. Then without MuleSoft, the team end up in building point-to-point integration, custom code between the application, and this become complex, expensive, slow, and hard to maintain. The MuleSoft can act as a central integration platform. It can connect apps, data through the APIs. So you can create the APIs for all the systems, and that can be reused basically, right? And once you create the APIs, that can be consumed by any other systems, right? To get to retrieve or to share the data, right? Then, as I mentioned, it's promote the reusability building block instead of reinventing the wheels, and it support both cloud and on-premises systems. It can connect to the cloud, from cloud to on-premises. Like you can also host the MuleSoft on the on-premises. You can host the MuleSoft on any cloud. You can have host the MuleSoft on the Kubernetes, like EKS, GKE, and like there are like AKS also, like so faster time to market, that is one of the key reason. Like once you build it have a lot of pre-built connector. It is low code no code tool, right? You can easily launch a new APIs very easily. Reusable API, once you create the APIs which can be reused across the multiple project. Scalability, you can easily scale each and every API independently. If one of the API is not performing well, like the number of requests on that particular API is more, right? You can either horizontal scale or you can either vertical scale. It depends, like if the payload size is more, right? Then you have to increase the memory in case the number of requests are increasing, right? So there is a no memory issue, but the number of the processing the number of requests become a bit difficult, right? It is dropping some of the requests, right? In that case, you can go with the horizontal. You can add more and more workers. Okay, so hybrid and multi-cloud support, as I mentioned, you can run the MuleSoft on the cloud, on premises, on any other private or public cloud, or you can also run the MuleSoft on AKS, EKS, OpenShift. There are multiple options. Security and governance. Once you publish the API, it come up with lot of API policies. It also come up with API governance tool where you can validate your API specification, make sure there is a no gaps in your security gaps in your API design. Then part of Salesforce ecosystem. Yeah, it is like it is a part of Salesforce ecosystem, and it have a like lot of Salesforce connector which we can easily use to unlock the data from the Salesforce or to add the data into the Salesforce. So we have a Anypoint Studio. So this is the IDE which we will going to use to implement the APIs and the integration. Anypoint Exchange is the repository on the Anypoint platform which we can use to store the APIs, which also provide lot of pre-built template, right, connectors, right, and which so once you develop the API, right, this is the place where you can go and discover the API, whether this particular API exists or not. Anypoint Management Center, basically you have a dashboard, you have a monitoring dashboard, you have a dashboard for managing the APIs application, you have a dashboard for managing the access, a dashboard for view the subscriptions and everything. Mule Runtime Engine. So Mule Runtime is nothing. It's a engine which allow you to run your MuleSoft application. The same Mule Runtime Engine can run on the on-premises, in the cloud, or in the hybrid mode also. Okay. So just a minute. Give me a second. Okay. Sorry. So somebody at my door. So yeah. Then we have a runtime manager. So runtime manager is a place where you can deploy, manage, and delete your application. So apart also runtime manager provide options where you can connect to your on-premises systems. So basically you are deployed your application in the cloud and you want to connect the system which is behind the firewall, right? So maybe your database exists in your corporate network. So it allow to set up those connectivity from your cloud up to the on-premises system to access the data, right? You can use the VPN, IPsec tunneling. We're going to talk about those. API designer. So API designer. So the first step in the designing API is to develop a RAML. Before we start with implementation, we have to write a REST API modeling language. Anypoint connector. So we have a pre-built connector for Salesforce, SAP, Workday, database, and many more other systems, right? And even you can build your custom connector. You can write, you have a MuleSoft SDK for connector, which allow you to write a custom connectors. Okay, so we talk about this API-led connectivity. System API connect directly to the core systems like database, ERP, and the CRM. Process API talk about like if you want to do some kind of complex transformations, if you want to like write some kind of business logic, if you want to do the orchestrations of the call, you can use the process API. Expense API is generally a channel-specific API, right? So maybe you can customize the data, right? So in case the mobile application just need a 3 or 4 field, right? So you can have a mobile experience API, and for web API you may require 20 or 30 fields, right? So you can have a different web experience API. This ensure we are not end up in creating something which cannot be reused, right? So it also avoid duplication of maintaining the connection string at a multiple places. So this is how the typically it looks like. So we have a mobile app, web app, and partner app sitting on that is the experience API. Then we have a process API where we can do the validate request, enrich the request, parallel call, transform to canonical model, business rule, payment authorization, create order, event publish, right? And then we call the system API basically. So that is how this 3-layer architecture works. Definitely there can be some kind of latency because you are doing calls via multiple APIs, but at the same time it also provides a lot of kind of reusability and orchestration part, right? So let me go to the next slide. Okay, so benefits of API led connectivity: reusability. You can build the API once and it can be reused across the multiple projects. So for example, you have created some of the APIs for one of the project, right? For one of the initiative. For next project, there might be chances, definitely there will be chances that we can reuse those APIs. faster delivery. So you can quickly create a new application services by using the existing APIs. Flexible, like you can easily, like for example, in case if you want to change the connection string, you just have to change in the at single system API. For example, my Salesforce security token and password change, you just have to change in the system API. You don't have to worry about the other system. Better collaboration, business and IT can work together. APIs are a big, are clear building block. So now business can, once you publish the API, so now business can discover, business can go to the Anypoint exchange and they can check whether this kind of API is already available within our organization or not, right? So this kind of flexibility it is giving. So I already talked about like benefit of API led connectivity. I'll just skip this. Okay. Now we will talk about the API lifecycle. So we have a three phase: design, implementation, and the management. Today we will go into this part. Okay. Design, simulate, feedback, and the validate. Tomorrow we will going to build and test. Okay. So first we have to design the API. That is the design phase. You go and write the API skeleton or API specification. It can be in the REST API modeling language or open API specification. Then simulate. Just try to check like you have covered all the request and response field basically. So you can expose the mock URL and you can just ask business to simulate, right? Or business or stakeholders to check whether we have covered everything in the request and response format. Then take the feedback. In case if they see everything is fine, right? They are saying all fields and everything is covered, it is as expected. In case they are saying these are the fields or these are data missing, then you again start with design. You just keep on adding more fields, more data. If something is missing, again go to simulate phase, feedback, and the finally validate the API spec, and you just publish to the Anypoint exchange. Then we build. So once we have everything, we have published to exchange, we got approval from stakeholder, then we start the implementation where we actually start connecting to the backend system and we try to retrieve the data. Then we test it, right? So once we test it, we secure the API, we apply some kind of policies or some kind of authentication and authorization mechanism on your API. Then we deploy it, then we monitor it, then troubleshoot, and finally we manage it, right? And then if we don't need it, there can be one more stage which is known as a decommission. We can decommission the APIs. So this is the life cycle which contains three phase: design, implementation, and the management. Okay. So before I get into the, we can so any question, we can take 2-3 minutes break. Okay. It's already 1 hour, right? It's okay. We can take 2-3 minutes break.
We have one like question from Rahul. And Rahul, if you want to unmute and evaluate, like you're asking, means always use service API instead of experience API.
Service API in the sense?
Yeah, Rahul, can you explain what's your question?
Okay. Before this slide, you were explain about the experience API and the service API. I guess
No, we don't have service. I think you're talking about the system API, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, let me go that. Go to that slide. Okay, this is the slide.
Correct. So we were talking about the system API and the service API. You were explain experience API. You can experience API have some limitations, but the service API you can use.
No, just
Mul-
you are talking about service system API, right? I am getting confused here. So you are talking about system API or service? There is no service API. You have experience.
System API. System API.
Okay,
We say.
okay.
So system API we can use multiple time reusability basically.
Yes.
And the experience API have there's some limitations. So can you please explain, give some example about these
So
two API?
I don't think there is a no limitation, right? So for example, like I have a system API, I have a process API. Can you please go on mute? I will explain because there are a lot of noises coming. Yeah. So for example, I have a web application. Now I'm getting some data written from the process API, right? So I will give a simple example. So here I have a system API. The process API collect account and the contact details basically, right? Account and the contact information and pass it
Okay.
to the experience API. Okay. So my mobile application just required 5 or 6 fields, right? Because
Okay.
mobile application doesn't show every details, right? It just show 5 or 6 or 7 fields, right? And my web application required 20 or 25 fields basically, right? So what you do, you can filter out those at an express level. You can have a separate mobile API and you can have a separate web application, right? So So here you can see you can reuse the process API and system API, right? You can reuse. You get the response from process API to mobile application. You can filter out only 5 or 6 fields for the mobile application, and for you can filter out 20-25 fields which you require for the web application. And there might be partner app, they require something different, right? They just want the status of your account, right? So you just
Okay.
pass the status of your account basically, right? That's how we that's see practically we can do same thing in the web application also, right? In
Correct.
singles, but generally it is recommended to have a separate API for each channel basically, right? That is what we will recommend. Otherwise you have to write the logic in this experience API where you will say I just want this fields basically. You have to just request those things, right? Or you have
Correct.
to pass some kind of parameter where I can recognize whether it is request is coming from mobile or request is coming from some partner or some web application, right?
Correct.
So yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So
just
basically, it is sorry, Abhishek.
yeah,
So
just to
basically,
add. Yeah, go on. I will explain.
yeah, please go ahead, Abhishek.
No, I was just saying, like, I just want to give you a small example, a real life example to explain this AI API led architecture with experience person system. So now suppose you are doing booking for your train or flight. Okay, any
Okay.
travel booking you want to do. So you as a user, you will log into a dashboard, and then you will search for like the date and the availability, all those things you will do, right? It can be your desktop, it can be your mobile app, anything it can.
Correct. Correct.
So the end system, okay. So if it is a train, so there would be a database where all the records are kept. So that record, whenever you are searching, it needs to be pulled from that database. Okay. So that
Okay.
is a system API. So as a user, you will not be directly connecting to the database. There will be a layer in between. Okay. So your system API is connecting to that database directly. Now
Correct.
your process API is where the business logic is written. In that way, so your dashboard is connected to your experience API. So that is the first layer where a user is sending a request to a layer, okay,
Okay. Okay.
which is your experience API, and that experience API can be used in your desktop UI as well as your mobile UI.
Mobile away.
That is the same one. But
Okay.
there need to be a business logic based on like whether it is coming from a mobile or a desktop, because in your desktop you may see it different way, you may
Hmm.
see some more functionality. In your mobile you can see limited functionality,
Limited
right?
functionality.
Yeah.
Okay.
So your
And
process yeah, Chetan.
yeah, and also like if you are using the data graph as your experience layer, right? So in data graph you can just query what are the fields you needed, right? So it like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you can use the data graph also, like you, and in data graph you can request, right? These are the 4 fields I required, these are the 5 fields I needed, right? So that is
Correct.
one of the example, like so you can use it basically. Apart from that, I will give one of the example what are the advantage we are getting with this layered architecture. So your system API is very critical, and it's very confidential, and it must be secure because it have a direct access to your backend system. Correct, Rahul?
Agree.
Correct. So
Mm.
generally we deploy a system API in the private network. We don't make it publicly available. Okay. And we also secure with some kind of client ID enforcement policies. Even a process API, it also get deployed in the private network. Okay. And your
Correct.
experience API where we expose the private endpoint. So all these three API in the same network, but for the experience API, we have exposed the public endpoint. But when the API want to communicate with each other, right, end-to-end communication or system-to-system communication or API to API, they can use the private URL, right, to communicate
Okay.
with each other. So
Correct.
that is one of the more advantage of
Advantage.
using this architecture.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. Thank you, Abhishek, and thank you, Jitendra, for this.
No problem.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Shantanu, you have a question. You got the mic access? Can you check? Shantanu there? Okay, he's not there.
Okay.
Manjak.
Cool. Thanks, Abhishek and thanks Rahul for asking the question. Thank you so much. Let's get. I have not mute myself. Okay. So what we will do now? So if you go to my GitHub, I think here I just uploaded all the examples. Module 1 JSON example. I'm going to upload RAML and everything. Okay. So these are some JSON examples I already added here. Okay. I'm going to show what I'm going to do now. We will start with API lifecycle phase 1, that is design. We're going to design an API with RAML. So what we're going to design? So we need to develop an API that integrates with the Salesforce to manage account and the contact information. The account should support a following functionality. A create account. So when I say create account, what method, what HTTP method should I use? Anyone?
Post.
Correct. What about create context for account?
Post.
Post.
And for retrieve it's get, right? So
Yes.
these are the four methods I need to expose, into the, or four methods I need to create into the RAML basically. Okay. So this is the use case. So let's get started. Before I get into that, I will just give you a walkthrough of Anypoint platform. So where is my Anypoint platform? Okay. So now if you see, the GUI has been changed bit. Okay. So recently, if you see, the graphical user interface has been changed. I don't know what is my password. Let me check. I forget. I don't know. Just now create the account. Let me check. Give me a second. It should be Surat only. Yeah, and I got it. Okay, so here you can see tabs. Earlier you can see there was tab on the vertical. Now it's horizontal. So you have an integration, Anypoint code builder. So this is again a IDE, integrated. I forget, development environment. So for where you can develop a MuleSoft flows. API design center, where you can write the API specification. Exchange, you can publish your API. It's a kind of repository where you can just publish your API and you can find a pre-built connectors, out of box templates, out of box assets. API manager, it's a place where you can manage the complete life cycle of your API. API governor, it's a place where you can validate your API spec, whether it is full security proof and it's with the best practices. We'll not talk about the agent tools, right? We'll avoid runtime manager, where you can just deploy your MuleSoft application, and monitoring, where you can just monitor your applications, right? So let's get started. I will go to design center first. I will create a new project. You can just say create new API specification. Before that, anybody want to create an account, they can go to anypointmulesoft.com, okay, and they can just sign up for the 30 days free account. Let me give value, please. I'll just ping that. Okay, thanks, Abhishek. Okay, so here I will just create a new API specification. I will just give this name as a Salesforce system API. This is my system API. Here you can select RAML 1.0.8, OS 2.0, OS 2.0, 3.0. But we'll see open API specification also. But I will go with the RAML. So I just say create API. Yeah. So here you can see the system API has been created. I can just provide a description. So this system API will connect to the Salesforce to create account, to create and retrieve account and contact details. Always provide a good description, which is a good, when you going to expose your API to some external parties or somebody have to discover the APIs, right? So this description is always important. So I will always suggest, please provide the proper description. If somebody go and look at that API, they can easily understand what does this API is doing. Okay, so I can just say protocols. So I can just say HTTP. Okay, I can just say HTTPS. Okay, we will talk about security schemas and everything again later. So I can just say accounts. So this is my first resource. Okay, so I'm just saying accounts. So this is my first resource. Then what method we need to use, or I can just provide some kind of description. I can just say create the account in Salesforce. Okay, this is the description. Now what we will define? It's a post method, right? So now, as I mentioned, for post method, we have a body, right? We have to pass a body, right? So I simply say body. What kind of body? Application slash JSON, right? So this is what I define. That is, I define a request, then I have to define a responses, right? So I can just define a responses. So what kind of response we want? 201. Generally, for creating the resource, we have used the 201. Otherwise, we use 200. Then we can say body of type application slash JSON. Okay, so this I've defined. If you see on this here, it will generate a documentation for you automatically. You can see it, right? Now I have to define an example, right? So what I will do, I will just click here and just say new folder. I can put examples. I'll keep it small letter. I will just follow the best practices. Under example, I can just create some kind of, or I, instead of that, I can just do new folder. I can segregate request and response. Okay, I already I will just say new file. Okay, I can just say RAML 1.0 and what you want. No, it's not here. Just change it to other. And here
You want example there, right?
yeah, that's fine. It's fine. It works here also. Post hyphen account request. So this is the example. I already have example, put it here. So you can see the post account request. I'll copy this, paste it here. Okay. So this is my example, name, type, industry. This is my account creation example. And here in the request body, I can simply say example. I can just say include examples slash request slash post account. I will just rename. I will keep the same name in the GitHub repository. Hyphen request dot JSON. Okay, so this is my request example. Now I will add in the response also a new file. I can just say other, and I can just say post response I will go back. You everybody have access to this. Okay, just you can use this. So post account response. So this is the response I will passing. So ID, success, true, and errors basically. If there's any error, okay, we will going to extend this solution. We are just starting. Like we will see how we can reuse the multiple things here. Okay, so now I've created accounts, and here I can just say example. I can just say include. So this is the syntax for including the examples slash response slash post account. Generally, it does IntelliSense response dot JSON. Let's see what happens here. So open this, and here you can see you can see the proper request. You can see it here, and here you can see 201 and what kind of response is there. You can see those things. Okay, so everything is like possible here. Let me see post account response.
You misspelled the include word.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so you can see the examples here also. We'll talk about error handling part and everything, but we just start with a simple thing for now. And now what is the second requirement? Okay, so let's see, go back to our presentation. We created the first resource. Okay, the second requirement, I will take a retrieve account. So either we need to retrieve all the account, right, or single account. So I will just go with a single account for now, or even we can go with all the accounts also. So for that, what we can do, I can just go back to my here. Okay, so I can simply put a method called tab get. So indentation is very important when you are writing the RAML, right? So I will just provide description. Okay, get. Okay, get create, or yet I have to create or retrieve the account in this. Okay, so I will just put get, and under get I can put a response. So response will be 200. Okay, and there will be body, there will be application/json. Okay, so what I will do, I will copy the same request for the response because it's an array only. I want all those fields, or I might be having, let me see, I can use the same. I should have a get post account, post, yeah, get account response, and copy this. Okay, so I simply say new file. I can just say other. You can do with example also. Get account response. Okay. So here I can just, you can put a multiple examples also. So there might be possibility you can have a different examples, right? You can, if you want to use the multiple example, you can use the examples. But we have a one only. I'm using an example. Let's see control space. It's somehow it's not coming. Generally it comes. Yeah. So we have done with this. So example responses. So let's open this documentation. We get account with a two method get and post. Okay. So we have started building our RAML, and where we have this particular example. So if you say it will bring everything, all the accounts. Now I want a single account. For single account, what I will do, I will just put /account ID. So this is nothing. This is my URI parameters. Anybody knows what is the URI parameters in API spec? In API. No.
The unique ID to get a record or some specific
Yes.
data.
Correct. So what is URI parameter? So URI parameter is basically if you want to identify any record uniquely, right? You pass that as a URI parameter. For example, if I want to retrieve a particular order, so it can be order/order ID, right? So you always pass that as a URI parameter. Then what about the query params? So you always pass a query param after question mark, right? So for example, like if you want to filter out some data which is not uniquely identified, which cannot be uniquely identified, in that case you go with the query parameter. For example, I have a car database and I want to retrieve all the car which is of color red. So there can be multiple car, right, which is of color red basically. So you can push, you can in the path you can put like /cars question mark color equals to red. So it will retrieve all the car which have a color red. This is a simple example. If you want to identify something uniquely, pass those as a unique identifier or URI parameters. If you want to filter out the data, right, then you can use the query parameters. Is it clear? Okay, so now I'm trying to retrieving /account ID. I'm retrieving a single account, a unique account. So where I will pass the unique. So again, get method. Okay, and for get method, what we required? Response. Right? What 200? I think it's body. Then I can use the example. I can use the same example, right? I don't have to do it again. I will use the same example. And see here, always you use the noun, right? accounts, right? You don't use verbs. So if you say create account, right, it is some kind of action you are giving, right? You don't have to use that. You just use the resource name, which is noun, and your method should tell what this particular resource is doing. So post is saying, right, it is creating account, right? You don't use something like that, create account. It is not a good practice. You always use the nouns, right? Noun with a and method should tell what kind of action will be performed by this particular resource. Right now, if I say /account/account ID, so here it is saying I want to retrieve a single account that having the ID. Okay, this ID basically. Okay, so now in the response, like okay, so you have defined the account ID here. Response is 200. Body application/JSON. Let's see what is generated here. So here you can see there is a one new method generated which is known as account/account ID, right? You can see it, account/account ID. So this has been generated now. Now we have to go with a contact. So we have to create a contact for the account. So we will require the account ID, right? So that's for sure. So let me go back here. Now here what I will do. So make sure it should be /account/account ID/contacts. So I will just say /contacts, right? /contacts. I think some issue with the description, why it's not coming. Create contacts in Salesforce. Create or retrieve. I will just write. Okay, now I'm creating a context. Okay, so what we have to do? What method we need to use for creating the contact?
Post again.
Yeah, so we will use the post. Okay, and the what we require? We require body for the post.
Body.
Yeah, we require what is the content type, which is I think it's 20
Application.
response type. Okay, or not response type, it's body. Okay,
Application. JSON.
application/JSON. Don't know why the IntelliSense is not coming. Application/JSON. Now what we have to define an example. Okay, so here I will just copy the example from my GitHub. Post contact request. I will just create here new file, other post contact request create. Okay, so this is my contact request. So I can just say include. We will convert later. We will convert into data types or data library. Right now, I'm just copying the example. We will going to create a data library, data types, and everything. Right. So for now, just this is just a start. So in tomorrow's demo, we will going to create data libraries for that, and we can use the Chat GPT for that also. Okay. So post contact request .json. Post contact request.json. Why it's failing? Example. Okay, okay, it's not response, it's request. Okay, now I will just put a responses. Okay, so now I put a response. In response it will be what code we will use.
201 again.
Yeah, 201 for create resource. Then it will be again body, then application/JSON example. I can copy the example again from here. So post account response, contact response. Okay, so let me go back to my designer. Just a new file. You have other way where you can just you can use the example also, where I can instead of other you can simply say, okay, let me go with okay, that's fine. So I can just change it to post contact response dot JSON. It will not allow, it will just take the RAML only. So that's good. That's why I go with other. Okay, just paste it. Okay, this is my example. I would have used same, but I generally keep it separate. In future, if we want to change something, if we want to add some additional something for this, right? So I just kept it separate. So again, I can just say include examples slash response slash post contact response dot JSON. So let's see what is created. So here you can see the account slash post account ID contact is created. If you open this method, so here you will see, your document is automatically generating here, like, and this is 201 body and 20, like you can see that. Okay, cool. So we are good here. We need one more method. Okay, so let me do that. It should be get. We have to get all the context for that particular account ID, right? So I will just say get. Okay. In get we have a responses 200 body example. I can just say include example slash response slash. Okay, so I've just added the example. I just have to add the file here. I will just go back to JSON example, post contact, get contact response. Okay, so I will just add new file, other get contact response. Get contact response dot JSON. I forget to mention application slash JSON. Okay. Okay, so this is what we have generated. Let's see. So here, like you can see, the get is also generated. So you can see it. If you want to try it out, you can simply say try. I put some dummy number. Right. Let me make it bigger. Then I can just say send. I got the dummy response. If you want to make it publicly available, like, so you can just say make public. So set the expiration date for this. I will not set, I will just copy this. I will go to browser, I'll just paste it. Okay, something I haven't added. Okay, it's fine.
Maybe
Yeah, I want to add the resource path there. Just give
also
me a second.
the
Let me finish this.
yeah.
Accounts. I can put some dummy account number and I can just say contacts. Okay. Okay. I put the spelling mistakes. Oh. We got the response, right? So you can just, it's kind of some kind of mock URL you can use just for testing. You can just give it, you create a postman collection and give it to business, like they can, it is not giving a right response, it is whatever we define it will give, but it will allow, like as I mentioned, we have once we design, we have to simulate and we have to get the feedback. This is what you have to do it, right? Yeah, Abhishek, you are saying something.
No, that's fine. I was just saying about the settings. Fine.
Okay, so how you have to make it public? So you just simply click this. You can set the expiration date also. I want to make a public till 15. Okay, just set the date. Okay, cool. So that's a 5 step. Now second step, like we haven't done it completely, yeah, but we have a enough API spec that we can publish to the exchange. So I simply click on publish. I will just publish as a development version. Like, I just giving to get the feedback, simulate. I will not going to publish the stable version. Otherwise, what will happen? I have to increment the asset version every time. So I will just avoid this. So advanced option, if you want to change name or anything, you can do that. You just say publish to exchange. Okay, it got published to Exchange, and now I can just duplicate this. It's taking some time. And let me put my charger till it's. Oh, what happened? Give me a second. I'll just put my charger. Okay. Okay, let me go back to one. Let, I will just leave this page. Let me go back to agent and tool. I can go from here. Okay, so here this is the API specs I have published it, right? So you can just verify it. You can give the access to business. Okay, so just me scroll down. You have this endpoint. You have an account. Account have a two resources, two methods, post and get. So you can just verify it here, like this is my request, this is my response, right? A very good documentation is generated. Like as I mentioned, I haven't provided description at multiple places. If you provide the description, everything, right? If you say summary, like it will add all this detail. What are the supported protocols? So if you want to reach your documentation, make sure whenever you are defining your RAML, you provide a good descriptions, right? Same thing with account ID. The account means like you create the single account, you can get all the account. This account slash account ID retrieve a single account, right? And now contact. So you create a contact for that particular account, one or more contacts, then get you retrieve a single, or you can retrieve a contact for that particular account. We can test it here. We can just go to get, and here you can see this is my mock URL, right? And I can just send, like we can test it here. So we can send, we got a 200 response. Same thing if I go with a post, right? I can give some dummy ID, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay, and just send it. Here it gave 201 created. This is proper response and everything, right? So this looks good. Then let me close this. If you want to publish to developer portal, you can go to the API instance here, right? And okay, so like this is my instance. It's a private visibility. So whenever you deploy these endpoints and everything, you can just add the endpoints here. I will going to show that once the endpoint is available. And now if you want to share it to developer portal, right? So you can simply click here, share. You want to make it public? Yes, version 1. I will just say save. Okay, so I just make it public. Okay, so I'm just thinking like so once you share it, here you can just click. No, I don't want to learn, like just a minute, where I lost my, yeah, let me go back to Exchange. We have a lot of MCP server game here. Okay, so we have a API instance here. Okay, any question before I move into developer portal? Just trying to open the developer portal.
Yeah, Srinivas, you have few questions if you want to unmute and ask.
Yeah, so in the design one that you were showing earlier, Jitendra, I thought all the resources are supposed to be aligned in the same column vertically. Your account and slash account ID were not in the same column.
How, like
Is there a
where it is?
specific reason?
where account and account ID. Just a minute. Let me go to design center.
Yeah, that is for the nested one.
What like you
So
have an
if you
account?
see,
Yeah.
so the account starts in column 1, but account ID starts in probably column 2 or 3 or something like that.
Yeah,
So I'm just
definitely,
curious.
because it's account, right? And account ID is under the accounts, right? That's why it started
Okay.
from the column two, which is correct, right? Because accounts
Okay.
can have account ID, right? Same thing, I have to return the contact for the account ID for that particular. See, because the contact is linked with the account ID, right? So that's why it will slash account ID slash contact, which is correct, right?
Okay. Understood. Thank you.
Yeah. Somebody asked me question that is correct. We have to publish to the stable version, which is right. So let me do that. So it is always good practice, just publish to exchange. So generally, like why we want to publish in the development version, like once we release that particular version, right, we have to do the increment of the version. So generally, I prefer just once you are not sure, once you don't get the approval from business, you just don't make it. You just keep it in development version. Okay, so that will be the yeah. Let me go back to my exchange.
Yeah. So just to add, when you say development, that means it is still in progress. You are not sure, and there can be changes. But just to save it, we move it as a development.
It's already now you can see the stable version here. Okay, and you can deprecate also. The third is deprecated also. Go to so once we have done this, right, what will be the next step? So I think like everybody is mentioned it's all good and everything is good. What will be the next step?
You have to map it to the actual Salesforce or get the actual data.
Okay, so next step is like we have a Anypoint Studio, right, and we are going to consume the API in Anypoint Studio. So we will like hold for today. So I think we like just I will summarize, like it will be too much, like so what I will do, like everyone, like if you can create your Anypoint login and you can just create add all these things, right? A RAML, I will going to share the RAML here. Okay, so I will going to say if you will going to find the RAML on this particular GitHub basically. Okay, so here I will just put RAML also, so you can also build that. So it will be good, like if you can work with me, right, what I am doing, right, we can go a bit slow also, it's fine, right? No, I will suggest everyone work with me, so you will get some kind of hands-on, because we are going to do some kind of complex things in upcoming training, right? So I will suggest everyone just whatever we have done in today's class, I will upload the video in next 1 or 2 hours, so you can just follow that and like try to build this particular RAML. Just make sure like using the same names and everything. Okay, any question?
Jitendra, one query. So for any API which is developing in MuleSoft, you have to deploy on the exchange and then on the developer portal.
No, developer portal is just if somebody, if you want to expose your API to external, like for discovery, if some banking, some external third party want to integrate with your API, right? So generally you expose to the developer portal. So developer portal is publicly available. Okay,
Okay.
so you can give the link and they can see what happens. Why what is the purpose of this writing the RAML? What is the purpose? Like anybody can tell, like what is the purpose? How it is different from WSDL, web service description language for web service? Like how it is differ?
So you're
WSDL
basically
is
trying to
XML
define.
based and complicated when compared to this.
Okay.
In this RAML, right, you have more, what do you say, understandable language. Looking at it, you can clearly understand. Whereas that's not the case with WSDL.
Correct. Okay, that is correct. Yeah, Sampat, Srinivas, sorry, you are saying something?
Yeah, mine was you basically define the RAML specification so you can get the business users to confirm that the blueprint is good for you to do the implementation. You don't want to basically start developing and then figure out the specification itself is wrong and there is changes to it.
Okay, that's cool. Saurabh, you are also having some inputs.
No, I was saying the same.
Okay, I will explain. Everybody has gave the right answer. The main purpose, the main intention, right? So the like once we why we created RAML. If you see the RAML is creating a very user friendly documentation, right? It will tell you what are the requests, what are the response, right? It will tell you what are the header required, what are the authentication mechanism required, right? So if developer want to consume the API, he will not going to reach you again and again like how this API works, what are the different fields, what are the mandatory fields, right? What the request response look like, what are the error handling mechanism, what is the different error codes you supported, right? So you can everything you just write in your RAML, and if somebody want to consume your API, right, it can be easily discovered easily, it can be easily discovered from that particular documentation or developer portal we are publishing, right? So that is one of the intentions. Second, definitely business user can also come and discover what are the different APIs available and what API we can use, or what are the API we can reuse for our use cases basically, or those APIs are not available, or we have to go with a new development basically, right? So there are many advantages of of using the RAML or Open API specification. With web service description, it's very difficult for business user to read basically, and it's not user friendly, right? It is not generating any kind of documentation. It is very complex also. So that is where RAML comes into picture. It generates the user friendly document which can be easily understood by the business users, stakeholders, developers, anyone who is like coming for first time to integrate your APIs. Okay.
Yeah, like this developer portal is only for external users, right?
Yeah. Yeah. If you want to like for I told about open banking, right? So generally for open banking, when you are creating the API and you want those API maybe consumed by some other third party or fintechs, right? So in that case you can publish those API to the developer portals. So that is the purpose of developer portal. I think it's a ACB, right? Anypoint Community Managers, and there's a one more product, Anypoint Universal Hub, something like that, right? So these are the product where you can expose your APIs, or expose in the sense you can expose your API specification. So anybody want to integrate with your API, they can just see the developer portal and they can integrate it.
But when you publish your exchange URL as a public, even that can be also used, right, for viewing that API.
Yeah, you can do that. You can, but if you see the developer portal, right, it like you can do some kind of branding and everything on the developer portal, right? So there kind of some
Okay.
kind of branding and all those kind of things, right? So you can do that. Correct?
Agree. Yeah, there are some labels and banners also appear when we check
Correct.
it.
Yeah. Okay. I hope. I think we can close for today. I think today I don't want to cover the RAML, but we have a lot of time remaining, so I thought let's cover the RAML. So in upcoming training we can cover more and more content basically, right? So yeah. Okay. So guys, I hope just I will request everyone to provide the feedback for the session, and like tomorrow we have one more session basically. Yes, Srinivas.
Hey, one clarification, Jitendra. When you created the RAML specification files, you created primarily as all of them as type other. At what point would you actually define a RAML 1.0 with the file type as example?
No,
What's
I
the
have.
difference between that and the one that you're creating as other with the same file?
No. Can you repeat? I haven't got your question. Like just let me go to Design Center first. Yeah. Can
So
you
if
repeat?
you see your most of the files that you created and the ones under examples, all of them were of other type,
Yeah.
right? But at what point do you, if you click on the plus sign and choose new file, there is also option called a RAML 1.0 with the file type as example. So what's the difference between that and the one that you created?
No, you can do with example also. Only the extension will be RAML for JSON file also. Okay, that is only thing. So
Okay.
I just want to keep a JSON as an extension. Other only allowed for the JSON extension. This file doesn't allow the JSON extension. Okay, but you can keep the example and you can give the same example in the RAML file also. It's fine.
And that would just basically contain exactly the same as what you copy pasted in the
Yeah, it
.json.
will be. Yeah, it will be.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, but I just want to make sure like there's a no confusion. We use proper JSON name and everything, right? I generally prefer this, so that's why I use it. Okay. Okay. So tomorrow we will see like how we can start implementing. We will going to connect with Salesforce. We will going to retrieve the data. Everything we will like we are going to see that. We will going to finish this particular use case. We will try to finish this use case at least by tomorrow, and we will also make sure how we can enable the reusability within the RAML. Like how we can use the data type library and we can use the security schemes. All those things we will see in the upcoming sessions.
Sure. Jitendra, I have one question.
Yeah.
Acha, in tomorrow's session, I'll request you please start with the means meaning of RAML and OS. I'm just new
Okay.
with, with these words and the use case of this,
Sure.
so better understand.
Sure.
Thank you, Jitendra.
Yeah. Anybody have any request? Just let me know. So yeah, I will try to make sure like I provide all the information.
Yeah, Jitendra, one more request. Like, since I'm new to MuleSoft,
Mhm.
not sure like how what is a developer portal, what is an exchange.
Yeah, I
Just
will.
one liner would help us to understand.
Okay, I will explain right now. Okay. You should tell me like if you are not understanding anything, you can tell me in the between of the session. Okay, I will just make sure I clarify all those things. Okay, so let me go
Mhm.
to the exchange. Your exchange is just no exchange is basically if you see provided by MuleSoft. These are the certain connectors and certain assets which is provided by MuleSoft, right? So we have a like FTPS connectors. Like connector is nothing like if you want to connect to the FTP, right? You use the FTPS connector. If you want to connect the database, you use the database connector. You want to connect to the SharePoint, you use the SharePoint connector, right? So these are the this is kind of repository where you find connectors, you find assets, you find various solution for some different kind of industries like healthcare industries and all these things, right? So this is the repository, and these are if you see something is provided by MuleSoft. This is out of box. This is everything provided by MuleSoft, and you can use into your solution. When if you put some kind of thing here, right? So for example, you are building some kind of logging framework. You are building some kind of error handling framework, right? So you can publish those error handling framework, those logging framework here, and you can use those as a dependency in your project. I will going to showcase that part also in upcoming video. But for now, you understand it's kind of repository where you store all the assets, templates, frameworks, your API specification, right? And where you can come and discover what kind of different API specs available, what kind of different APIs available, right? So this is kind of repository hub provided by the MuleSoft.
Okay.
You will understand easily as we progress in the session, right? And we will publish more and more data. You will come to know what is the purpose of the exchange. Basically, you will come to know on that part. Okay.
So whatever process routing we do, we implement the business logic, all goes over here.
No, business logic that will be a different part. Okay, this is here just we are defining some kind of see if you have some kind of common assets, right, and some kind of
Mm-hmm.
API specification that you publish into the exchange. So generally, if you whenever you are writing some kind of business logic or code or anything, right, that you publish into the GitHub or any other repository, your own repository. You will not going to store your code, right? Your code can have a lot of your confidential information, right? So you will generally store in your own repositories, GitHub, Gitbucket, Bitbucket, those kind of things. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so thank you so much everyone for your time. I hope you like the session. If you like the session, please provide the feedback for the same. Right? If you even don't like the session, you can provide the feedback for that also. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you, everyone.